I expect all of you to either agree or disagree. I don't care which, but I expect you to be civil. If you have a response when the question and answer time comes up, please be civil. And without further ado, Drake's going to be back a month from now. On what one is
28th
on the
of November.
Well, I'm forgotten what you're talking about.
Magnificent Wonders, about
Okay.
fantastic places to visit.
That's it. That's right. Yeah, that should be good, especially just before the holidays when you might have friends coming and visit. And you got to figure out what the hell to do with them. So, without further ado, Rick Shepard.
Well, thanks for being here. Today I'm going to tell you about a number of conspiracy theories that people around the world believe in and relate to some of my experiences with some fringe groups here in the villages that support them. Free speech is what makes a democracy possible. However, speech that is hateful, full of outright deception, falsehoods, lies, and used to influence weak-minded or emotionally vulnerable seniors is called fraud. By whistleblowing, I wish to expose this senior fraud to protect our fellow neighbors from from these clubs who, like the 2012 Club, the Thrive Club, Astrologers of the Villages, Ghost Stories Club, Parapsychology Club, the Edgar Cayce Club, Anagram Club, UFO Club, and the Exopolitics Club, seeking catharsis. So these fringe groups offer no hard-nosed proof of anything. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just moved here not long ago, and I know the villages are good for life and lifestyle. And I read the bylaws of the villages that all these groups are presented for a myriad of people in a myriad of situations. And I think that none of these should be called fringe groups. I think that's disparaging. And I also think that because we don't know answers to a lot of this, and I study rare diseases, and as such, science requires open dialogue and differences of opinion, but I don't think that you should call them fringe groups, and I don't think they should be disparaged, and I really resent that.
Well, thank you. We'll get to your comments when there's time for that at the end of this in about an hour. If I keep doing this with everybody, I'll never be able to present anything.
No, but I think.
Thank you for your opinion. I think we understand. So, fantastic claims of government cover-ups, no reasonable or rational explanations. This promotes an era of paranoia, distrust, panic, inclusion, anxiety, with a lot of cheesy sci-fi scenarios taken directly from movies and TV shows. In some cases, about decency that we hold here have been replaced by malicious, racist, and spiteful propaganda. This presentation is addressed to those who come to the villages seeking refuge from loss, grief, personal pain, and loneliness. So today we're going to talk about the flat earth, the hollow earth, ancient civilizations, aliens and UFOs, exopolitics, moon landing, Scientology, astrology, new age remedies like crystals, GMOs, vaccines. So is it fake, fact, or just plain flake? So, people believing in bombastic, sensational, tacky, tabloid mentality, pseudoscience, conspiracy theories base their decisions mainly using the right side of the brain that handles intuition and emotions. However, the left side of the brain that controls logic, practicality, and rational thinking is mainly not utilized and left rotting in the basement. This is called cognitive dissonance, where you believe in something wholeheartedly despite overwhelming evidence that is not the case. Therefore, stories about ghosts, aliens, and unproven New Age remedies create an alternate reality that distorts facts with alternate facts and creating paranoia. And if you don't believe in something, you are the enemy. First up is a flat earth society, as they believe the earth is flat. 2% of the American public, or 10 million Americans, think this is true. The sun, moon, and stars revolve around our pancake-shaped earth. So it kind of looks like a big cufflink. And the sun and the moon does this, and the lie is that we have a round earth, and the truth is it's flat. It must be so because the UN flag, the logo, just depicts that. And the sun and the moon go around our disk. I don't know why the water doesn't fall off. but all the other planets are round except Earth. And how does this happen? Well, a plot by NASA convinced us through CGI, special effects, that there's a fake globe, a fake space, and a fake moon. A plot concerning NASA manipulates computer graphics, convincing us of this. Anybody or organization who disagrees with this society is branded as satanic. And of course the Earth is round. This is really the flat brain society, and you have to be psycho to think this way. And this is dedicated to Bad Mike Hughes, who tried to prove the Earth is flat by going up in his own homemade rocket and having it blow up. Next up is the hollow Earth theory, that postulates a mini Earth inside our Earth, complete with oceans, continents, islands, a sun, and human-like creatures who reside there. There are portals or holes located on the north and south poles of our planet to gain access to it. Advanced races of humans live there in a utopian, idyllic society. Long-haired, thin, fair-skinned women who wear long robes and heroic-looking, well-built men in Prince Valiant outfits with melodramatic poses populate this society. This inner Earth contains waterfalls, romantic, dramatic vistas, impressive cities with fantastic soaring architecture, and is an illustrator's dream come true. There are thousands of these believers worldwide, and the idea has been floated around for centuries. So there's a mini Earth inside our Earth. Remember, if we can't see it, it must be mysterious, magical, and ethereal in nature. And here's one of the portals to get into it, mini Earth. And one is in the North Pole, but of course in the North Pole there's the Arctic Ocean, so all the water would funnel down to this, but that's not discussed. And inside this mini Earth there is a whole world that has oceans, continents, archipelagos, islands, mountain ranges, streams, the whole bit, and they're all named, by the way. And we live inside, so drop in and see us. And the portals look like this to come in and out of this. And of course they're in some mysterious place far away, so no one can check this out in reality. And this was all done in 1864, written by a man named Jules Verne, Journey to the Center of the Earth. It has been remade into Hollywood movies many times. Of course, we all know the Earth has a crust, mantle and core. The further what gets went into it, it gets between 5,000 and 7,000 degrees. That's why rock melts, causing subduction, causing continents to move around. Plus, there's a dynamo caused inside the Earth from a solid iron core with molten iron and nickel surrounding it, which creates a magnetic field and protects us from damaging solar winds. The hollow Earth is simply not true, and this idea comes right out of Lord of the Rings movies in terms of this medieval kind of thinking literally about this. And this is controversial. Here in June of 2017, I went to a 2012 club meeting presentation called Pyramid Building 101, trying to get information on Egypt. And I got information from a well-meaning and articulate man who told an audience of 8 how the ancient pyramids were constructed using another advanced civilization's ideas, tools, and help. So in other words, the ancient Egyptians were not capable of building these particular pyramids, and they needed help. That's what I was told a couple of times from these alien-type creatures. And I was told there's a possibility that these ancient Egyptians needed assistance from members of the lost continent of Atlantis. Which, when I asked the presenter, about this, he said that this was an idea floated by Plato 2,500 years ago. Of course, this is probably the Azore Islands in the Atlantic, and there really isn't any room for a continent to be on the Atlantic Ocean bottom, because we've already surveyed it for 70 years with submarines and know exactly what's down there in terms of how to navigate it. And as a possibility, the pyramid's 2.3 million blocks, carefully arranged 2,500 pound stone blocks, were, as a possibility, put in place by quartz crystals that levitated them into position by these Atlanteans. And we'll make that experiment here in a minute here. Also, the pyramids have secret passageways and rooms still undetected to this day to internally further move these stone blocks thousands of years ago. No details, proof, illustrations, videos, or pictures were provided. Remember, this is all about an emotional response to what you could believe in. And it would look something like this. We were also informed that the Sphinx was built 1,000 years earlier than previously believed and not modeled after Pharaoh Khafre, who lived 2500 BC, which all scholars agree upon. Rather, the Sphinx is aligned with the faraway star constellation with cosmic consequences built as a shrine for other mysterious reasons. Plus, this huge iconic statue has never yet discovered secret and mysterious underground subterranean tunnels and rooms. No proof or substance was provided. 15 different scholars were mentioned in this, which almost comes down to, in my opinion, name dropping, but with no proof or anything. No pictures, anything like that, with having these kind of situations going on. Plus, those magnificent, awe-inspiring, multi-ton obelisks the ancient Egyptians are noted for were erected back then using, possibly, kites to raise these stone statues, or stone obelisks. It was mentioned that they may have done this, but it was also mentioned that this is a possibility. Well, the ancient Egyptians did not have the wheel, and they did not have a pulley. Without a pulley, you cannot do this. Kites do not move something that weighs over 100,000 pounds. And this is how they would put them in place, going up this and then put them down there. That is the general accepted idea. But we all know the pyramids in Egypt were designed and built by hand by the peoples there. It maybe took 30 years and roughly 30,000 men to cut and move and place these stone blocks for the main pyramid. Here are the tools that they used. The Sphinx is really the face of Khafre, as 27 laser points on its face line up perfectly to his carved museum statues of him. Kites can never move a 72-ton stone and never will. Now, in case you think I'm just an armchair guy doing this, my wife and I went to Egypt and went inside the pyramid, and this is the proof, but the issue is, and these are the passageways, there are no internal other secret chambers. In addition, we went on a Viking trip with 60 people. These kind of theories were never brought up, never discussed, and if I were to bring them up, I would be labeled as a nutball or a kook by these people that paid for quite a lot of money to go on something like this. No bookstores, no museums like the Cairo Museum had any of this alternate ideas presented at all. And I want to say something about possibilities. Well, everything's a possibility. It's a possibility you could win the lotto, but you're not going to. It's a possibility if you give a group of monkeys a keyboard that they can type out Shakespeare's Hamlet, but that's not going to happen. But it is a possibility. So rather, just tell us what really you think happened in your opinion, rather than using hyperbole that has the odds of billions of one that it would occur. And about this Atlantis, well, obviously it's a myth. Nothing like this has been found. No proof. And you talked about Atlanteans. Well, I thought Atlanteans were from the city of Atlanta, or the Atlantis in the Bahamas, or if you misrepresent this and mispronounce it as Mylanta, the gas relief medicine. So in other words, just get real. If you live in a world of fantasy, then tell us it's fantasy instead of presenting it as fact. That's the issue. All this was told me as fact, not opinions. And just because you can't figure out how ancient civilizations built things doesn't mean they got help from aliens. That's jumping to conclusions. Just because you can't figure out how they built this on Easter Island, that doesn't mean aliens did this, or the pyramid. That's jumping to radical conclusions right away, just using the emotional part of you. All this leads to, all this was presented to me concerned irrational, wishful thinking using gushing emotions and hyperbole with no evidence. Fantastic claims require fantastic proof. With these radical, unorthodox views, then one cannot hold or be respected in traditional jobs or be published in things like archaeology, geology, cultural anthropology, biology, chemistry, and related fields. But retired people here giving these lectures can have this luxury, as there's no professional work consequences to contend with. Truth, logic, and veracity are readily sacrificed for cheesy, shock and awe statements designed to hook and reel in unsuspecting, naive villagers. Thinking our culture or other ones are more superior to the host country where such monuments are built is called cultural entitlement. Publicly asserting these ancient Egyptians did not have the know-how, technology, expertise, and intelligence to create such complex stone temples and masterpieces. And just a few broad dismissive statements, whole cultures are dismissed like this. Get out of here is what they're saying. They're thrown under the bus and kicked to the curb because we think we have better answers than this culture does. The ancient Egyptian culture has been around for 7,000 years. Ours has been around for 300 years. So saying this is entitlement, saying not only we have the answers, but the ancient Egyptians must have been stupid because they couldn't figure this out. They needed help. Well, if you think that's the case, then have the stones to go to Tahrir Square in downtown Cairo, where a bus went around, and tell people when they congregate there in Egyptian Arabic that their ancestors did not have the wherewithal or intelligence to build such monuments. Or try debating me about that in a lecture in a regular kind of group like this. Be happy to. Or present this in this kind of mainstream type of discussion group. Or if you believe in this, then have the guts to go to Guatemala City, in Guatemala, and tell their peoples there that their ancient ancestors that built these stone temples about 700, 800 AD, that they didn't have the wherewithal to build them either. How far would you get saying that? So dismissing a whole culture. If you took a cultural anthropology course, you would know not to dismiss other cultures, thinking your ideas are better and have the answers and they don't. Really, the simplest explanation tends to be the right one, or Occam's razor, which we all know about. So is it fantasy or truth? Just because something has an elongated head doesn't mean it's an alien. Cranial capacity has nothing to do with intelligence or being vastly otherworldly. We see what we wish to see. Do we see an alien here, or is it really a vase that this ancient Egyptian is looking at? This condition is called pareidolia. It's a misinterpretation of events. It's defined as a tendency to impose a meaningful interpretation of an object or pattern when in fact there is none. Well, like seeing a whale in the sky, or the rabbit on the moon, or a chicken in a building, or just because we see 2 holes or 3 holes in situations, we think that's a face. Are they angry green peppers? Do we need to make a conspiracy about that? Or are they just green peppers? No, which is it? Same thing with the chicken. Is this an angry chicken? You ever have one for dinner? How about an angry tool? And how about a very upset pair of slippers? Or a tree that looks like a butt? Or an angry robot? Well, we're just misinterpreting information and putting our emotions in something, but it doesn't need to be there. So the same thing happened with the Viking face on Mars. When we had poor photography, we thought there was a face on Mars. But 25 years later, we had better resolution, and it's just a glacial moraine. In other words, it's not a face on Mars. The same thing with canals on Mars. There's no canals there. Just we needed a better telescope to look there. And we get pareidolia in every single situation. These are stories on the net all the time. Is there a Bigfoot on Mars? Or is it just a rock outcropping? Same thing with pyramids, buildings, and tombs on Mars, or a Buddha statue. Or how about a smiley face on Mars when it's just a bunch of craters with a stream running in between them? So taking things and misrepresenting things is what misleads people. Same thing with Noah's Ark in very eastern Turkey. Well, Mount Ararat has erupted several times in the last couple thousand years, the last time 1837, and it leaves these fantastic formations. So one would think, well, it looks like an ark could fit on there, it's got the right dimensions, or does it? Well, apparently it does. Mr. Carl Baugh came here and talked in the Leesburg Whitney Baptist Church and explained how this could happen, because he went on search for it and discovered how dinosaurs and other creatures could fit on the ark. Of course, man and dinosaurs are separated by 65 million years. But when you talk to people that only think of things in terms of emotionalism, then that's where you get a misinterpretation of events. And you can visit an ark that cost tens of millions to build in Kentucky in a creationist museum there, if you wish to check that out. It costs $60 per person. And the next time we get to the holy grail of all conspiracies, and I know that's why you're all here for, is aliens. They are portrayed as small, skinny, frail, white, otherworldly creatures with no hair, no ears, no noses, big heads, and huge eyes. They have come from faraway star systems and spaceships to infiltrate or spy on our society. Well, I have loads of questions. Why are they always white? Why are they always skinny for? Did they need glasses? Or am I just being silly and making up these ideas up? Well, did they go to a dentist? I mean, if you have teeth, I suppose you need to. What did they eat? Did they have, how come we never see their private parts? Do they have an INSEE or OUTSEE down there? I mean, what's happening? Do they have alien sex? Oh, I mean, it's a possibility. They have to propagate somehow. I bet he's saying, my place or your place. So, we have all these questions, but with no proof. So remember, this used to be an alien a while back. And why do alien abductions only happen at night? And why do they always happen to white people in rural areas? How come the dumbest people get abducted by aliens? Well, really, aliens are substitutes. It's called the replacement theory. That is, white men over the last couple of decades have lost status. And because of that, they need to blame it on some kind of an immigrant. So aliens are the perfect immigrant. And that's where we get this problem with. It's about status. That's what's going on here. So this one must have lived in North Dakota with all the... Okay, so we get all these jokes in and make all these comments. But really what's going on here is all these ideas were taken from, mainly from TV shows and movies, like the X-Files, Fringe, Star Trek, X-Men movies, or the Invaders back in our day. And these are scripts written by screenwriters in little offices, cubicles in Canoga Park, California. These are men looking to put their kids through school, through college, or trying to make alimony payments. And we take their ideas and we think they're real, or take them, and this will come up over and over in this presentation. To answer these questions, we look no further than 2-bit illustrations, doctored photos, dreamy celestial events, or misinterpreted phenomena, and a willingness to suspend our logic and reasoning. I was told by the Pyramid presenter, and this is an idea that he had, that aliens 400,000 years ago came from the 12th planet called Nibiru. Notice it ends in a U. And that was, or planet X. And this lies beyond the orbit of Neptune. It has a 3,600-year-long elliptical orbit around the sun. It comes through our solar system from deep space, whizzing near Earth. These aliens from Nibiru have helped our ancient cultures and are waiting out in spaceships to send more. I was told they were literally waiting in spaceships. Okay, now about the orbit of Nibiru. Pluto's orbit is 450 years around the sun, but this is 9 times longer. On Pluto, it's 380 degrees below zero. It's full of frozen nitrogen, ammonia, ethane, ammonia, and a planet 9 times further out would be close to absolute zero in space. That is, about 480 degrees below zero. And when the star, our sun, would just be a speck in the sky offering almost no light and zero heat. so nothing could live on it. And the name Nibiru is fascinating. It's like an old white guy made this up to sound mysterious and mystical and magical. And why does it have 18 different consonants in it that we all mispronounce? Nobody knows. So if it's visible to half the Earth, we have tens of thousands of astronomers in the world, and of course none can find it. Again, you can't prove it. Apparently it didn't collide with Earth either. The myths and the facts. This was invented by a guy named Zach Stetson, who is an author of many books. He's a scholar in Mesopotamian culture, ancient Iraq and Iran areas. And when you play with another civilization's artifacts, or bring them back home to the States, or do anything with them, that's called cultural rape. That's taking a country's mythology and history and taking it back to your place. Same thing with the marbles, the Greek marbles the Greeks took from the ancient Parthenon in Greece, have them in their British museum and won't give them back. The British also took the Rosetta Stone from Egypt and never gave them back. So, we'll talk about unidentified aerial phenomena pictures, or UFOs. If one cannot explain a mysterious occurrence in our skies, then the very next step is to label it flying saucers with aliens controlling it. I'm sorry. The simplest answer or explanation to a mystery is then replaced with silly, unproven, fanciful, convoluted sixth grade sci-fi cliches. Cheap movie saucers and rockets take the place of anything yet rationally explained. And always in these scenarios, there's people in black suits that come after a sighting and clean up the area, which is a government cover-up. After all, the government is very large, they cannot be trusted, and they have all kinds of plots that we don't know anything about. This idea about a government cover-up was the first Raiders of the Lost Ark, where the Lost Ark was found, and at the end of the movie, they were put in a large warehouse. Well, one program I saw last year about UFOs, the man cited a case from 1953 here in the Villages. 1953, my parents were dating. They have been dead for 12 years now. So we make a better, more realistic presentation. In an exopolitics meeting I went to last June, they cited a case from 1966 in Australia with no proof or anything like that. But I was 11 years old then. Can't we do better than this and talk about something more germane and more on the money, like the Tic Tac video? Navy pilots took this, and it's fascinating the way this thing moves up and down. And no, I have no idea what are UFOs. I don't have an explanation at all. So if we don't know, it's okay to say, I don't know, and one day we'll find an answer, but not today. Simple as that. It's straightforward and honest. And I was told when I went to an exopolitics meeting that these spaceships are powered by europium. Well, that sounds kind of cool, doesn't it? Let's go into that for a minute. Europium is xenon tetrafluoride in the lanthanide series, which means it's man-made in a lab. Europium has a half-life of 20 milliseconds. So by the time you say the first syllable of this, it doesn't exist. So, it's magical and mystical to say all this, but you got any substantive proof that this is going on? Show us the proof, show us the money, either put up or shut up. And the same thing with this, going a little bit off track here, this was to levitate a pair of scissors here that I have, these quartz crystals, all plugged in, and it doesn't work at all. It's supposed to levitate and do that, and it doesn't happen. When we were out in Egypt, and I'll get back to the point in a minute, we immersed in the culture for 2 weeks, and we fell in love with the peoples there. Has any of these clubs actually gone to ancient Egypt, spend the time to get to know the people there and the culture there? The answer is, generally speaking, no. Okay, so about these UFOs, this happened in real life in 1998. a man named Marshall Applewhite, who operated and was head of a religious group based on UFOs called Heaven's Gate. He was arrested earlier in life for credit fraud use and had himself even castrated. In 1997, 39 people in his cult committed suicide by drinking vodka-laced barbiturates in Rancho Santa Fe, California. They were trying to abandon their earthly bodies to rendezvous with the spaceship that was trailing Comet Hale-Bopp right here. Each member was carrying $2.30 for his passage on the ship. This is what happened here. This results in death. This is about a cult. Now, another controversial. The Villages has an exopolitics club that meets monthly at Laurel Manor. I attended a May 2021 meeting that was given by a nice lady with 4 others in attendance. I quietly took notes as she spoke off the cuff for an hour about deeply disturbing, inane, outlandish, and outright nauseating, psychotic, wide-ranging conspiracy theories. These theories included rape, murder, torture, kidnapping, abductions, and blood drinking, hallucinogenic drugs, clone replacements of politicians with no proof or evidence. I was so worried about the children that she talked about in this thing who were being killed that I thought they were the villagers' employees' children who go to the village charter school, which is why I called the FBI hotline about this. I thought, and talking about politicians and having them dead, and I thought this would rip up the fabric of society. We were informed that an elite and secret organization called the Illuminati, formed in the mid-70s in Bavaria, southern Germany, to control and dominate a world totalitarian government. Powerful people then belonging to select families tried to make a new world order for 270 years, and then are now deeply entrenched in our government, politics, banking, businesses, and religions. The Freemasons are part of the satanic plot. And of course they had these hand signals, which was the prevailing way to pose for a picture in those days. Napoleon had it, George Washington had it. So this must be the case that they're up to no good or have some kind of a plot going on. And our founding fathers and current governments from all over foreign countries have been infiltrated by the Illuminati. Their vast worldwide controlling menacing presence is a reason behind all wars, the French Revolution, poverty, the IRS, and global misery. I was told the Ashkenazi Jews from Germany are part of a Zionist plot tied in with the Freemasons to influence these Illuminatis. Now, if you believe in this, well, again, just go to Temple Shalom down here in Oxford that borders the Villages and tell these parishioners there that their ancestors are part of a world plot, a heinous, corrupt to corrupt the world. But that won't be done either. If you believe in something wholeheartedly, then get out of the little hidey hole that you have here in these rec centers and actually go out to these groups and say something. But that won't happen. And the Illuminati signals are everywhere. The signs, they're in plain sight. Through the pyramid with the eye in it, for instance, it's on the $1 bill. And they're everywhere. When a singer makes a sign, they're in between pieces of bread. They're on Peyton Manning's forehead. My goodness, that must be nuts. The Bermuda Triangle, the dolphin's tail, and the 666 symbol that's satanic is found in Walt Disney's signature and is in the Procter & Gamble's logo. So it's everywhere, and including in products you buy and even in Microsoft ads. I feel sorry for the guy who's drawing the triangles. Imagine what kind of life he must have. So, and then besides the Illuminati, she just jumped right into the bomb sank the Titanic. Titanic didn't hit an iceberg in 1912, but rather a bomb sunk it because there were powerful bankers on there, and Illuminati wanted to get rid of them. And then, to further complicate matters, I was informed that evil shape-shifting lizard-like people from the Draco star system, 300 light years away, have come here and infiltrated our government, institutions, and have replaced politicians, and are embedded in our culture, and even in the movie industry. Now, the Draco constellation is 50 quadrillion miles from us. When we see a shape like this in the sky, that's called pareidolia. Actually, these 12 stars that make up the system are all different types of stars. White dwarfs, brown dwarfs, red giants, they're all separated from each other by trillions of miles from each other. But we see it as a shape, but when you get there, there's no shape at all like that. They're just stars. That's all. So it looks like this, and of course anything from there must be evil because they're reptilian in nature. That is, they're from a serpent. So you get serpent-like people with a nice eight-pack here and a bodybuilder arm here. This, I remember watching Star Trek, and a guy, Captain Kirk, did find a creature named Gorn in 1967 that was kind of looked like this, and same green skin, teeth, and everything. But okay, so these are shapeshifters that these look like, these aliens, which is right from the movie X-Men. And conveniently, I was informed these shapeshifters look like Romulans from the Star Trek series, or are reptilian in form with lizard-like heads. So, in order to look human-like, they drink adrenochrome. If you want some, you can have some, by the way. And this is blood taken from missing or abandoned children or from tortured infants. So, this idea was taken from a movie called Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas about 10-15 years ago, which was taken from a book by Hunter Thompson in the mid-70s. This has been around a while. So, what it is in order to look human-like and not age, they drink this, which is blood taken this way. The children are kidnapped, tortured, and killed for their blood to feed these alien-like lizards. And of course, the reason to explain all this is from abandoned children that used to be on milk cartons. They must have been taken. But really, they're from child custody cases where the parent wants to leave the other parent. These children are kidnapped, tortured, and killed for their blood. My mouth fell open as a woman told of thousands of children taken from the Mexico-U.S. border, for instance, and put on magnetic levitation trains that whisked them underground in 2 hours to army bases in Wuhan, China. The bodies are then harvested by aliens and their blood collected. This plot, of course the aliens have these gelatinous heads, things, skinny shoulders, the usual. The blood collected and then fed to these lizard-like creatures. This is directly taken from movies like Soylent Green, was set near 2022, The Matrix, The Invaders, X-Files. Here's a still from The Matrix, where a human's blood is being collected and energy taken by aliens to get their energy. Now, going back a bit, I don't like doing this, but when you have a situation where another country is mentioned that caused a certain problem, or you think they did, this then leads to anger against Asians. Over the course of a year, dozens and dozens of Asians have been killed or hurt because of people with these kind of ideas that blame this. This is, again, a reaction and a kind of a way of looking at this that harms people more than helps people. And you remember that that barge that got stuck in the Suez Canal for about 3 weeks, back about a year and a half ago? Well, this lady claims it was filled with abandoned children, missing children. There were full of them in these containers. Of course, when you're in a container for about 2 hours, you run out of oxygen and you can't live. But it must be the case. And that certain celebrities are story deep in as famous actors, actresses, and current politicians and world leaders drink adrenochrome to maintain their human form and look young and never age. So these celebrities take it. If you take adrenochrome, you look like this. If you don't take it, you look like this. The lady next to me said, even Tom Selleck takes it? And the lady said, yeah. And the lady next to me went, oh, really? You know, is this what kind of mentality that we're dealing out here? Really? This is what happens when you take it and when you don't take it. And she actually went into this in detail. Mr. Cruise apparently took it in his first Top Gun movie because he looks so young now. But his co-star didn't take it and looks like this. What a shame this is going on. I mean, some man came all the way 1,400 miles from Chicago to learn this? Really? Okay, so any woman of any kind of power is labeled an adrenochrome witch because in very conservative right-wing groups, women are nothing, really. And then the politicians are just substitutes for these lizard-like creatures that run the government. And then Mr. Clinton must have took it, because if he doesn't take it, he looks like this. The government is run by teenage ninja mutant turtles, and Queen Elizabeth must have took it because she looks like this after this number of doses, and even her grandson looks like this. Here are some alternate facts and classy quotes, that's classy without the CL in front of the word, that this lady said to me. Microwave ovens are dangerous. Nazis are now paying people to street protest. Hillary Clinton has killed 172 children. Young girls are given roofies, and yes, I was directly asked what a roofie is, which is Rohypnol, a date rape drug. And then raped, and the resulting children are used for sacrifices. There have been 8 presidents prior to George Washington with no names given so I could research it myself. Biden and Putin have been dead for years. Okay, on board there are spaceships or quantum computers that actually go into election results and skew them, which is why we've had problems. A quantum computer, is that the best you can think of? How about something we've never heard of before? How about a machine so fantastic that it's great? But this has all been said before. And that JFK is still around, and who's been dead for 20 years, JFK Jr., and still organizing events. And that simple gestures between world powers become convoluted, twisted plots. Putin gives Trump a soccer ball, but it's filled with thumb drives about illegal activities. Why didn't Putin just go behind a closed door and give it to him in a Walmart bag, like we all would do? But no, it's got to be a plot right out of Mission Impossible, where this is going on. No one would ever believe that this could possibly be true. And that these chemtrails, where these are these condensation trails in the sky you see, they are chemtrails. That is mind influencing things to control us because the government is evil and all powerful. But yet these same people who say these bad things about our government still take the government's Social Security checks and any rebate checks. That's for sure, because they couldn't live down here. And that the use of a powdered drug sanctioned by evil aliens in South America called scopolamine, or devil's breath, makes its users into zombies who terrorize others. That's why there's so much crime in South America, because of the scopolamine. That's why there's so many murders and kidnappings are going on. And this story even gets worse. She told of Operation Paperclip, where the U.S. enlisted the help of former Nazi scientists in the 1940s to build bombs, rockets. I was told Nazis are still embedded in our government. Sure, they came here. They didn't want to be killed by the Nazis. So they came here. All these men have been dead for decades. But yes, they did come here, but they're not here anymore. She also told of Operation Mockingbird, which was a massive funneling of billions of dollars by the CIA to bribe corporate media to make all news stories uniform in content. This Mockingbird is a direct ripoff from Mockingjay of the Hunger Games. So we have all these convoluted plots. The pronoun they was used 40 times by her in less than 45 minutes. Furthermore, the National Exopolitics Group as a whole believes the moon landing was a hoax and was filmed in a studio staged by NASA frauds who manage government operations. It must be filmed. Just take a look at the visor of this. It was all staged by cameras. It was all a hoax. If you had $1 for every time you heard the word in the last 6 years, hoax or fake, why, you'd be able to afford a house on a golf course out here. Again, simply saying a few negative sentences erase billions of dollars spent, millions of man-hours, a source of national pride, and makes the history books. But just going like this, once again, just dismisses everything, doesn't it? It's so easy to use a sledgehammer and to knock something down. You could knock down your whole house in a week. But how long will it take you to build your house again? And it'd be, in a strong wind, it would just all be knocked down. So easy to dismiss, so hard to make better. So welcome to the mysterious paranormal universe, where pareidolia reigns supreme. These fringe groups take urban myths like monsters, ghosts, fourth dimensional beings that go bump in the night and turn them into real possibilities. Maybe these kind of monsters are still around. Bigfoot kept Lumberjack as love slave. And then there was all these ghost stories too. Actually, there's a club called Ghost Stories. A year ago, I emailed the Ghost Stories person named Sherry, and I lied. I told her my wife and I had a hamster that we kept in our bedroom in a cage, and the hamster died, and after his death, we still heard his exercise wheel spinning, and little bits of chips were spread around the house. She believed me so much that she wanted me to speak in front of the group and wrote me a long consoling letter consoling me of my loss. So, hi Bo, how are you? And like the 2012 club, for instance, elongated Mayan heads are explained by this club to be evidence of extraterrestrials on Earth. Yes, the Mayans did binded their babies' heads to make them look more prestigious and regal. A lot of societies do this. They do things that they put weights on their ears, their genitals, their nose, their lips. People do this to make themselves more prestigious. This idea about elongated heads was right out of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I have right here. We've already seen this plot before. It's already been used. And ancient Incan mummies associated by this club as mystical, alluring, and intriguing, when in fact, young girls 600 years ago in Peru were fattened up for a year, then taken to a tall, icy mountain to be left to die from hypothermia as sacrifices to the gods. This is called premeditated murder, or murder one. Now we can see how these conspiracy groups use emotional hooks like tortured children, loss of innocence, blood rituals, satanic powers, reptilian creatures, world plots, racist vibes, Nazis, flying saucers, and aliens to grab our attention through sensationalism and degrade our intelligence. Sadly, these fringe groups prey on seniors who come out to the villages looking for hope, friendship, and camaraderie in their lives. Many of you received a video to come out here, wanting you to come out here. Well, who'd want to come out here with clubs that would promote these kind of ideas? These clubs will never be featured in the village's promo marketing videos sent to prospective seniors with cash to burn for new homes. It would be difficult seducing anybody coming here to hear about blood-drinking aliens. If so, the Living the Dream chant would be replaced by Living the Scream. It'd be hard to have anyone having these paranoid views to have fun or enjoy life. If you had these views and your spouse didn't, how would you get along? How would you get along at all? How about a simple lunch would be a conversation like, did you see, honey, that lady at the checkout at Walmart, she's reptilian? Or how about that couple on the golf course, they were drinking adrenochrome? How could you live with someone like that? That the world is an evil place populated by these aliens who have conjured up disgusting plots against our world. Now, I thought about a buyer beware sign on these things, but that didn't go over well. I'm just saying is to be sensible about what you go to and what happens. Really, fourth dimensional beings? Does this look like 4 dimensions to anybody, or is this some third grader pulling a trick on you? We need to be more diligent, or is it the 5th dimension singing group? I'm not sure. Now we're going to move on from less controversial things. Scientology, which is a religion, cult, and business with 100,000 to 200,000 members worldwide. This is the Scientology office in Alcala, sponsored by actor John Travolta. This cult follows the books written by L. Ron Hubbard in the 1950s, like Dianetics, here and here. Scientology followers believe that the human is an immortal spiritual being, or thetan, in a physical body. The thetan has had past lives preceding the thetan's arrival on Earth from extraterrestrial cultures. That means there are little spirits inside of us that we have of these. 20 million years ago, this alien leader form called Zenu, N-Z-E-U, who was the ruler of a confederation of 76 planets, brought billions of aliens to Earth due to their own severe overpopulation problems. These thetans then somehow stacked near volcanoes and blown up by hydrogen bombs. Okay, Zeta was an exact carbon copy of Ming the Merciless in the old Flash Gordon movies, if you remember them. Same tailor, same hairdresser, same scalping look. Here's Flash right here. Can't you do better than this? Really? So, these thetans, by the way, hydrogen bombs were the method of extinguishing a lot of things back in the 1950s. Thetans must free and leave themselves from our bodies in order and able to control mass or matter, energy, space, and time, and obtain their true universal potential. These thetans are reincarnated in us and are always seeking greater spiritual and physical freedom throughout the course of thousands of human generations. Then they can create their own universe, control others, create illusions, and have no need of a host body, becoming an omnipotent life force. So we are their vessels. In the 1960s, Hubbard's cone became investigated by local, state, and national officials. In '75, Hubbard tried to take over the town of Clearwater, Florida. He went into seclusion and was convicted of money fraud with a 4-year sentence in 1978 in absentia by France. In the same year, 11 high-ranking Scientology office officials were charged with 28 counts of espionage against the U.S. for trying to expunge or erase all public records of the cult. So this guy's a fraud, phony, and a charlatan. He decided to drop his body in 1984 and continue on another plane of existence, and he died. He was worth $26 million then. This is another example of fraud dressed up in pseudoscience, pretend psychology, phony baloney mysticism, conspiracies, aliens, and melodramatic Flash Gordon Saturday morning TV serialized wannabe plots. It's just plain nonsense. Now another controversial one, astrology. This concerns the movements and positions of celestial bodies dictated by one of our 12 astrological signs, or the position of the sun and moon during birth. This is called natal astrology. These special positions involve a horoscope that determines a person's personality in life, even after their future. Again, there are things there are outlines in the sky. Of course, they're not really there. They're just our imagination picking this up. There's none of this here. I get a kick out of Aquarius. What happens if he wasn't wearing this robe? Okay, so we have this plotted on a wheel here. Astrologers interpret this map by looking at the interplay of all your astrological elements based on the archetypes that each major sign represents. In reality, people cannot be pigeonholed into 12 different personality types. To me, it's not about when you were born, but when you were conceived. So planets like Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, etc. have zero effect on our daily lives, moods, and actions. Only the sun and moon affect our lives in obvious ways, and they're not planets. So you can get out of anything then. If you do something really stupid in life, like commit a crime, then why not just get out of it and blame planet Mercury for it? If you're having a bad day, well, then Jupiter or Venus is the problem. There are 5 million web pages devoted to this. 38 million people in the U.S. spend $100 million or more on this, in my opinion, false science. And my experience with astrology is twofold. I went to the astrology fair here about 5 years back at Lake Leona. Check it out. Occult fiction and nonfiction books were for sale. Some crystals, wearable charms, medallions. One vendor would even draw the aura that she saw around you. And a special event with sign-up sheets for mediums to foretell your future was sold out at $40 per 15-minute session. In the end, these vendors laughed all the way to the bank, raking in wads of cash. In my opinion, I believe there's no substantial evidence for astrology. I guess no one ever lost a dime underestimating the taste of the American public. And also, the astrologers in villages makes predictions about the upcoming year every January. These predictions were printed 3 years ago in January of 2020, and they foretold a certain president would be re-elected, which he wasn't. This prediction never mentioned a virus that would come 2 months later and kill 25 million people. So I just thought I'd throw in my own predictions. Why not? Some natural disaster will happen. I guess that's true. A famous person will die. Yeah. Democrats and Republicans won't get along. A country will be invaded. Gee, I wonder which one. Professional baseball will become less boring. A large meteor will come close to Earth. A church official will go to jail. Go figure. Alabama will be the last state in anything. Dogs and cats can marry and get a mortgage. That's true. And children need to sign a 10-page consent form to play. And the best one, there will be a street in the villages one day that goes straight. Okay. Let's talk about crystal therapy, or a new age. In other words, if you're going to predict something, it's okay to be wrong, but try to do better, especially if you get printed in a paper. That's all. Simple as that. Let's talk about crystal therapy, or a new age therapeutic use of placing crystals on your body to heal and meditate. And this is a quartz crystal, by the way, that doesn't levitate anything. But these crystals naturally resonate vibration due to their crystalline structure when influenced by electromagnetic fields. Every living creature has a small electromagnetic field in it. And these crystals slightly vibrate, but you would never know. Crystal therapy works for people who believe it will work for them. Being told or sold on an idea, our mind and body will be convinced crystals will work for you. Quartz, which is SiO2 or silicon dioxide, cannot heal or repair any feeling unless you think so. For instance, Herkimer diamonds, or fancy tapered quartz crystals sold by the Caregivers Reboot Club here, is a way to physically heal frayed caregivers. It's convenient that these crystals are light, translucent, shiny, fit in your hand, and are reasonably priced. We as a species are very attracted to these qualities. Just look at your phone. So these crystals are placed on you in strategic locations that help meditate and soothe and heal you. And don't promote any kind of bad feelings, and they're placed on chakra points on the forehead and other places on your body. Gee, I thought chakra was the name of an exotic dancer in a strip club in Orlando. But anyway, so they're placed on you to do this. And Bob must have, who heads this organization, must have had at one time in his life rose quartz. Well, rose quartz is really iron oxide with the tinges of pink. It's ludicrous to think that a pink stone would help generally stereotype feminine-minded concerns, such as matters of the heart. So if you put these heart-shaped stones that are nice and shiny and smooth and put them on your body, these will help attract love and help your self-confidence and help your relationships. Really, a stone on your body to do that? Well, we all know the color pink has nothing to do with love, relationships with men, or control fuzzy, warm, romantic feelings. Do blue stones help heal men for stereotyped male concerns like virility or prestige? No. Applying rose quartz to places on your body will not provide you with better love relationships or self-confidence. These situations are provided by your own actions alone. You create your own feelings. So, they have crystals for everything, don't they? Crystals for migraines you can buy, nice polished marbles. Crystals for grief. Crystals for cancer. Crystals for exhausted, for psychic protection. For mind shatter and protection, but they're not crystals anymore, they're feldspars at this point, or turquoise, which is hydrated aluminum silicate, or tourmaline here. They have crystals for addiction, and how about a magnetic bracelet that you can buy at the Gem and Mineral show that you can buy out here that will help heal things, because you have iron in your blood, so it must be able to help it. They have crystals for a passionate sex life, including your heart-shaped crystal here. And this is iron pyrite in cubic form or fool's gold. You really have to be a fool to spend your money on these kind of things. So if they have crystals for people, how about crystals for animals? How about magnetic therapy for dogs and cats? Crystals for pets. Try putting them on your cat. See how well that works for the cat. Crystals for healing for pets. Or crystals for parrots. You have to be a real bird brain to think this way. We're going to talk about two more and then we'll be done here. Talk about GMOs. These are genetically modified organisms that concern genetically altering food from their natural form for bigger yields, more resistant to agriculture, pests and diseases and producing more varieties of food from different kinds of environments. A huge natural food movement in this country believes that GMOs harm people, making them susceptible to a myriad of bodily ailments. These are called frankenfoods and are deliberately engineered these are called frankenfoods and are deliberately engineered and designed through gene manipulation to alter what we eat in a non-natural, lab-made, chemically induced biological way. So if you have to dress like this to grow it, you shouldn't eat it. Frankenfoods, your child's next meal. This is again an over-emotional response to something that we do to produce bigger yields. And large protest movements, across the nation, accuse huge agricultural corporations, Monsanto or Monsanton, by the way, again, double coming up, to produce GMOs like wheat, corn, soybeans, sugar, dairy, potatoes, cooking oil, farm feed, or any vegetables, and hundreds of other kinds of produce you can buy at the grocery store. This then, once again, leads to a conspiracy on a national level. Of course, GMOs should be labeled to their authenticity. Organic, non-altered foods are the best taste and health-wise. However, organics cannot produce much yield and are therefore not easily sustainable, and are easy for pets, like mites, to cause infestations and causing the use of more pesticides and are more susceptible to plant diseases. So if you avoid all these, then what are you supposed to eat? So farmers use GMOs to help with the impact of agriculture. And these GMOs have no impact on fertility or reproduction. Again, this is an overreaction, an emotional response to something, using emotions and not our intellect to solve a problem. GMOs really cut food waste, save topsoil, because there's less work involved in them. And they're not sustainable. And if you were to buy a ear of corn, an organic one, this would cost you $1 at Whole Foods, which I call Whole Paycheck. If you were to buy one there, well, that would be a lot of money. But if you lived in sub-Saharan Africa, or making just $2 a day, you would not be able to afford an organic corn on the cob. Corn on the cob used to be the size of your two fingers, but over many hundreds of years, it has grown to be this size. This is what feeds the world. This is how to support a population of 8 billion people. Organically grown produce, which tastes good, still cannot do that. So this is why this is done. Also, would you want to pay $1 for an apple? Well, if you live in sub-Saharan Africa and only making $2 a day, no one would want to pay $1 for this. You'd want to pay $1 to be able to have some rice, homegrown vegetables from your garden, and maybe a fish that you could buy for your family. So only out here in very developed European countries where we have prices like this for this kind of situation, which doesn't reflect what the world is going through. And the last one, and I'll be done shortly, to get to your questions, childhood vaccines given to babies, toddlers, and children. Many parents believe in myths about regularly scheduled childhood vaccines. Vaccines were developed to protect people from dangerous, often fatal diseases. MMR shots for measles, mumps, and rubella are the issue here, as well as DTaP, diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis. And if you don't take them, you get measles, and who wants a baby with this? Measles can cause these kind of situations if you don't take the shots. But these parents feel that the government is an overreach in this, and is putting shots in the arms of babies, and due to a paper that was made in 1998, it blamed vaccines for all kinds of problems, as well as the Tdap vaccinations here, for all kinds of problems. And like particularly autism, brain damage, bowel disease, internal inflammation, and behavioral problems such as ADD. Again, an over-emotional response to a simple vaccination shot to protect your child. Would you want your grandchildren to go to school with kids that weren't vaccinated? Maybe not. Maybe so. So, do they really have these side effects, or just a laundry list that no one really thought of? What kind of allergies? What kind of cancer? There are many different types. What kind of SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome? That's when you put a baby on its stomach. It's hard to believe what kind of food allergies to what. In other words, not giving specific examples and just giving a laundry list of things doesn't solve any problems at all. So there are various myths to be involved with this. And people think there's some kind of government or big pharma companies are in collusion to orchestrate foreign drugs to be forced in their kids' arms. Government overreach and big profits plow the way here. So this is, again, the government getting too involved with your family. So don't wait, vaccinate. And I'm going to end this by saying, over the decades, the evidence is quite clear that vaccines save lives and do not cause autism or serious medical problems. It's an overreaction about who controls our lives. The whole lecture has been about fear of losing control. How we interpret an event can have consequences and can influence others in positive and negative ways. Thus, reality becomes a personal viewpoint. Hopefully, we can all get along together with clear, lucid, rational thinking when it comes to decoding events that we do not fully understand. Thank you. That is the end of this. Thank you. Now the hard part, because I get a lot of questions.